Lately, I've been talking quite a lot about taking notes and just experimenting myself with a few different ways to keep notes from different meetings separate from each other, but also connected to the notes from the last similar meeting. So I'm just going to show you with like a little example here. So I made this little dummy document and I call it special meeting notes. So I always make sure to pick something that's really searchable. So if it's like a one-on-one meeting with Dana, I would call it one-on-one meeting notes Dana. So I want to point out a couple things I do. I put headers in place for each meeting day so that it's really easy to scroll through and see where to start. And then one of the other important things is that I don't continue from the bottom in this document. I start from the top. So you can see it has the last meeting date notes below, and then I start again. I put the cursor in and I hit return a few times to put in the new meeting notes at the top. Things I like to note, I would say important points, and then sometimes I'll put in a person's name, like my example here where I put Holly, and then important comments. So if there was a breakthrough or something that was a question or a concern or a comment from an individual that I thought was important to capture, then I will also put that in. And then if I had a question in that meeting, a specific question that I brought into the meeting, I would maybe separate it by putting it in bold and then capturing kind of the key points of the discussion we had around it underneath. So one of the other things I've been testing, so this is relatively new, is that in Google Docs, there's a bit of a little mini task management thing. So just on the side, if you can see, you click on tasks, and I created a new list for this meeting. And so if there's any specific tasks that come out of here or things I want to follow up, I can just really simply here add them as a task. And then the next time that I come to look at this, I can check in on those items without having to scroll through my notes and pick out the items, which is what I was doing before, but I was kind of highlighting them. So the whole point here isn't that I think everyone should use Google Docs for their note-taking, but I think note-taking in itself is very important. Capturing action items and things you commit to do out of a meeting is very important. We forget something like 90% of what we learn or hear within a week. So if you have a weekly meeting and you're not taking at least some general notes to capture what the discussion was, you probably are going to have very little recollection by the time the next meeting rolls around of what the discussion was. And then we end up with Groundhog Day meetings where it's just like every single week the meeting is exactly the same because we're not following up on action items and we're not following up on maybe very important discussion notes, questions, and comments from the last meeting. So just working in my own way to try and get better, and I'd love to hear what other people are doing to have better meetings and take better notes.